Hello. Good afternoon. I was eating cheese. What were you doing? I've been working really hard. I've been really busy. So I'm going to do a really quick one. This one's more just sort of just ruminating on this, which is this is something that I've been writing about lately. I don't know whether it's a chapter or not. It's just a bunch of notes at the moment. But it's something that I've gone through over 25 years on the internet. Now, what happens when you're wrong publicly, right? Yesterday, the reason why I'm thinking about this conversation is there was an interaction with LGB Alliance Australia where I talked about the transgender prisons thing in WA. Throughout that thread, I realised that I'd actually overreacted, right? And I realised that I was wrong halfway through the thread, backed down, made a video, then realised that I was probably not very clear on the video either, so I corrected the record in a subsequent video. And basically, 2 weeks pass, LGB Alliance retweet me and say, oh, Taya broke it down in this thread. Now, I then said, all right, well, I corrected the record on that. Here's the video. And it's really interesting because it prompted a conversation with them, and it's a conversation that we have a lot. I've gone over Brand Yourself before, a piece of software which recruiters use for online reputation management. This is something that is a service that is the super rich definitely have access to. I've seen certain celebrities do it online. When they break up with somebody, they go and scrub a lot of the digital history, edit Wikipedia and fix all that stuff up, right? There's people that are like, this is something that a lot of people don't know, is that there's businesses and agencies. If you have no fucking scruples, right, in this industry, if you have no scruples, you do well, okay? If you have a fucking conscience, you end up like me, undercharging for fucking hand jobs in the alleyway. Anyway, metaphorically speaking, because I have scruples. Anyway, can you tell I'm in the middle of an e-commerce build at the moment, a bit cranky and resentful? Anyway. But one thing that people don't know is that there's businesses called reputation management companies. And basically what they will do is use all sorts of sort of black hat SEO, dark patterns, and, they'll if you actually, I'm trying to think of somebody who's got an example. John Ronson did a chapter on it in his book. He touched on it. So You've Been Publicly Shamed, I think was that book. It was ages ago when I read it, but it's there. And they're reputation management tools, right, which go and will basically create a bunch of websites, phony shit. They'll do like positive review bombs of you, positive praise. They'll sort of like manipulate sort of the front to, depending on how much money you've got, really manipulate and do a social media cleanup, write articles about you that are positive and sort of all that sort of stuff. Don't trust anything that you read on the internet, people. First of all. Second of all, right? And a lot of this feeds into why I know that a lot of this sort of woke stuff is manipulative, right? I know that I'm talking about, it sort of ends with, should you delete your tweets? The answer is fucking no. Should I delete old content? I apologize. I ate cheese because I haven't eaten all day. I ate cheese before I came on and now it's returning on me. So I apologize because I have manners and class. And this is why nobody loves you, Tay. This is why you got no friends. Oh, Laurie's here. Laurie's my friend. She's another person who's got no friends, so we can have no friends as friends. Too soon. Love you. Sorry. It was a joke. Anyway, everyone fucking hates me. Don't worry about it. Anyway, my point is, right. So this interaction with LGB Alliance, which was that, obviously I won't go into the details of a private conversation, but it's a conversation that comes up a lot. And what we're seeing, like with the mermaid stuff and Tavistock stuff and, all that stuff, is just this mass deleting of history, this mass deletion of shit that actually fucking happened. Okay? First of all, that's bad, right? You can always return from things. Second of all, right, there's these companies called reputation management. You can go and get a tool called Brand Yourself. I actually probably should do a new updated version of that. That was my very first video going over that tool. Oh my God, what a stammering mess I was. Still pretty funny, but at the same time, I'll probably revisit it. But basically, it searches through your Twitter feeds for controversy. And you should see how low the bar is. If you want to see how corporations view you, my score is in the toilet, and I keep seeing how bad I can make it. I don't give a shit, right? I work for myself. My clients don't care. They care about the results that they get and all that sort of stuff, right? But, so, Cyrene's here. Hello. Now, basically there was this thing about that transgender policy. That last couple of weeks where I realized that I was probably fucking going too far into reaction town, too far into just jumping to conclusions. I mean, in fairness, the headlines are misleading and the press release was misleading. If you didn't read the actual policy documents, you would believe that there was a policy for men, for transgender women to be in female prisons. Again, still not entirely opposed to that. Sorry, stay mad, TERFs. Okay, we can figure this shit out. Now, I shouldn't have said that because you're going to fucking get mad and not listen to what I'm actually saying, which is I'm okay if I say that and then I change my mind tomorrow. That's the point. I can go back on it. I can think it through, get new information. That's called learning and it's called thinking. So anyway, LG, they asked me and they went, well, should I delete those tweets? Because I actually went through and I said, actually, I want to add to this thread. I was wrong. It's a juvenile facility. You've watched my videos. You know what my point was with that. It's different. It's a good policy. It's fine. And then they said, well, should I go and delete all of my tweets referring to West Australian prisons? And I said, hell no. Why would you do that? Right? Because the people that are attacking LGB Alliance, as an example, right? If you're an organisation or a person who has made themselves a target for one reason or another, or not made themselves one, just fucking are one, or are looking for a job, right, and are worried about these screening tools, or looking to host the Oscars, or all of those sorts of things, right? I am of the view that you should not delete the record. Now, I have a 25-year record of my online behaviour. One thing I do know is that stuff outside of Twitter and social media, it does disappear if you let it, right? Things go away. I went viral. I've been, all these things. Try finding it. There's not a lot of stuff there, right? People move on, especially with stuff like that's embarrassing, right? Old tweets are different. But what we're doing with social media is I think that there needs to be different rules, which is that it's not your fault for making a mistake and it's not your fault for misspeaking, right? If you've gone and corrected the record, then we need conventions. We need norms around this stuff, which is that it makes you a shitty person if you go searching through someone's shit, okay? And that's my view. I know it's a naive one, but I'm just presenting an alternative view. Now, in the case of LGB Alliance, where a lot of shit's being flung, right? You see how it is with Jamila Jamil at the moment when she went and quietly deleted all those fucking tweets and stuff, right? You see how it is. We all know she's done it. People screenshot things. People know you've done it. So there's no point anyway, right? First of all, if you're going to be hung, you're going to be hung. That's just how it is, right? Not if you're Rain. Rain's not going to be hung for much longer. I had to do that. I apologize. I'm on fire today. This is why you've got no friends and nobody loves you, Taya. Rain can take it. Rain's got a sense of humour. Anyway, see, someone could clip that, take that out of context, fucking realise that me and Rain are cool, right? And, me, oh no, will I not get a job at the potato chip factory as a middle manager, right? Now, yes, I do have privileges that other people don't have, right? Which is that I've got a strong personal brand. I have skills that are like, I don't need a job to work. I am a little nervous because I'm going to be subject to the APS, which is a different thing, but I'll cross that bridge when I come to it, because I still believe that I don't say anything that I would not. Just a good rule of thumb with online behavior anyway is to not say anything you can't fucking back anyway, right? I know for a fact that from having thought that I was anonymous and have my real name collide and someone be reading my diary. An employer was reading, actually, there's a story. An employer reading my diary back in 2001, early 2001, when I was talking about how I was pregnant and I hadn't told anyone yet, but I didn't know because I'm a fucking idiot, right? That my boss was reading my website because I'm an idiot, right? That was the first, this in 2000 is right. So I've lived this shit. But this was when we thought the internet was secret. It's pretty funny. The internet is only secret if you don't have an email signature with a link to your website in it, Taya. It's also not a fucking secret if you use your real name, Taya Lou. See, I've suffered, so you don't have to. I know. I've been a crash test dummy. I know these things. I've been fucking divorced. I didn't exercise the best judgment yesterday because my ex is a cunt. And I'm going on the record and I say that is not a a statement of fact. It's a statement of opinion. Right? Anyway, so I posted something that was shading him. But anyway, we do that. That's what people do. Should I delete it? No. Because it's my fucking record. I get to say what I want. Okay? Now, that's with great power comes great responsibility. And I'm also obviously being flippant and I'm not giving this as professional advice that you should just go and say whatever you want. I'm saying to be strategic about it. Okay. Now, so should you delete old shit? I've been going through this. I'm afraid of the APS. What can I say? I'm afraid of the APS, that they might misunderstand a lot of this process that I've gone through. I don't think it is. I honestly think I'm documenting a process that needs to be shown and needs to be seen, right? And living transparently and vulnerably. That's what I've always done, is just lean into that being vulnerable and being sort of a crash test dummy that everyone else watches and learns from. I enjoy that part of life, right? And I just sort of take risks, calculated risks and see what happens. So when I make a mistake, right, I just correct the record and say, oh yeah, fucked up. I don't delete it. Now, there have been times, right, when I have not had exercised the best judgment, like say if I've been drinking and sort of, regret or whatever. But on Facebook, I just make them only me because I love using Facebook memories, for example, and often I keep a lot of private writing snippets and that sort of stuff there. But in terms of old tweets, now, we need to move away from, oh, you said a thing back in 2009 in a fucking heat of the moment and then forgot about it. I tell you what, my Twitter account's a ticking time bomb because you see the shit that I say. You saw the shit that I said 5 minutes ago. Sorry, Rain. Nice. See, I told you. Rain's worse than me. She put an eggplant and knife emoji for those that didn't fucking see it. Rain's having her surgery soon. That's funny, man. Anyway, that takes balls. My point is, in a world full of fuckwits and dishonesty and erasure of the past, right, it's important that I see myself as leading by example, right? I'll just turn on a stream and I'll fucking bomb. Every time I stream, I think that I fucked up. Every time I stream, I realize that I didn't prepare. I was working on a fucking on code, trying to be up until like 3:30, right? I had 25 minutes and I was like, oh yeah, I scheduled a stream and now I'm just talking, right? That takes fucking courage, but I want people to see that. But also, right, I think it's important to just be charitable and understand the intent behind things, right? And the context. And if I have gone and expressed and corrected the record, then why the fuck are people bringing out old tweets? And that was the thing. But that's why with LGB Alliance, if you're a target, they're going to think that you're hiding something, right? Now, every time I try to give a professional fucking thing about user experience and user trust and trust in business and customers, I start with confessions about cheese burping and dick jokes. But, guess what we found out? Twitter's killing Periscope. Can we have a fucking happy funeral for that occasion? Jesus Christ, what a shitty platform. Okay. Anyway, it's got all the fucking positivity of Twitter and none of the money of YouTube. It's fucking great. No. Anyway, so I was going to say, so in the case of somewhere where, something where people are going to mischaracterize you anyway, right? The fact that, look at us, look at the gender critical people and the way that we're all just rubbing our hands together at having the fucking screenshots of when Jamila Jamil just claims no knowledge of mermaids. It's exciting, right? So it's just dumb. You shouldn't delete shit. It's on the record. But also, this is something that I've learned having worked with lots of creatives, right? In varying types, right? Business, entertainment, famous, not famous, anybody who's creative, right? One thing about all of these things, these common threads about creating anything or building anything, is that there's so much more value in seeing others go through a process and come out with a finished product. Then there is someone coming out sort of with a finished thing, right? Now, one of the things that's been great about 2020, right, is seeing some artists sort of break that fourth wall in the process, right? I'm not going to fucking say his name, but you know who I'm talking about, my favorite singer. He's been doing sort of, over the shoulder stuff and courses and sort of showing him he's sort of had to learn Logic for the first time. He usually uses a producer, but now he's doing it at home and he's sort of walking through that process. But you're also seeing somebody who's got an album due and you're seeing someone who's very stressed out. And what you're seeing with me is a very similar thing. And what you see with other people when they make a mistake, this is linked. When you see the journey, right, it's actually quite a lot more inspiring than the finished product, in my view, right? The finished product, anybody can fucking polish an album into something that, that's pretty fucking reasonable. Anybody can edit a 10-minute YouTube video into something that, is mildly coherent, right? There's fucking, I could pay someone on Fiverr to edit something, right? But what I'm deliberately trying to do by sharing everything and just building on it and correcting on the record is showing people a different way of handling themselves, which is that it's okay to just exist in the moment and lean into that vulnerability, right? I am a target, right? Aren't I a target? I haven't been one so far, right? Believe it or not, aside from the usual fucking, retarded states of America fuckwits and Periscope wankers, it's really just, it's actually been pretty, and, nutter's gonna nut, the usual shit, but nothing really. I think you'd be surprised that most people are fairly indifferent to the culture wars, first of all. Second of all, most people are pretty forgiving, right? Third of all, as long as you make it right, you can get away with a lot, okay? Now, I'm not saying that you do it to get away with it. I'm saying that if you can show growth and show progress, right? If you go back through my content, for example, or you go back through, anyone's catalog, anyone who creates a body of work, and yes, this is a body of work, not just me eating cheese and talking shit and burping. Okay, it's a little bit of that. But anyway, you look at the progress, the process. I can guarantee you that at least a handful of you, right, feel like, because you've come on this journey with me where I have started this thing with this brand yourself fucking tool, thinking I needed to learn how to do video. to the point where, like, the video where I cracked the shits with Paul, it's on the channel when we first went, okay, we're going to make some YouTube videos, and I cracked it. I screamed at him, and then I picked a fight with Paul, and I cried. And that's why I now talk to a webcam, and Paul doesn't film videos with me anymore. It's pretty funny. But I've gone from that to being deathly afraid to being willing, and this is something that I've always done in the written word, which is I've been quite happy to lean into vulnerability with that stuff, right? Because it's always just been sort of a failing upwards. I'm running my own race. I've said this before, right? But also I'm not talking about me. I'm just trying to work through some thoughts today on this. And the reason why, and this is 100%, just this is why it's why people have the problem backwards, okay? Which is that there's a gap in our norms and our society. I've talked about this before. Manners, conventions, norms around the internet, right? We need to start putting those in place. And I think some of us are, right? But I think it's very important that if someone comes back having poked through all of your shit, right? Like I said, those dudes that go, oh, well, it's public. It's like, well, so jerking off in a park is illegal too, right? That's not an argument. It's the same thing about sort of going through and searching through someone's tweets in order to destroy them. And it's like, well, hang on. That's not about the action. That's about the intent that you had when you did it, okay? That was an intent. And that means you're a bit of a fucking asshole. Okay. And I think that that's where the adults, and that's where, this is how, and this is why I want to I'm doing a course on the culture wars for employers and brand managers and for organizations, because I'm increasingly finding that people just aren't aware, right? And when they get the call, as long as they're prepared, they know how to handle it. They just don't know how to handle it. Right. And so the way that this is largely how I just get to say pretty much what I want. Assuming YouTube let me stay up, but even then, whatever, right? There's other fucking platforms. Who cares, right? I'm saying that the way that I have managed to, in fact, there might actually be a course in this, which is how I've managed to build a business. It's not obviously not rich, right? Because I am now only working 3 days a week for a start, because I want to do more content stuff, and I'm switching and I'm studying and all those sorts of things. So I'm sort of phasing out. But at the peak of digital, I was doing pretty well. Okay, it's just mostly that I can't in good conscience do most of the work and feel like I'm doing good anymore. So, but I do take on sort of piecemeal consulting work and design work, right? Now, I can't remember what my fucking point was. What was my point? Where was I? Where the fuck was I? Anyway, so, my light went too bright again. Oh, well, whatever. So, hang on, let me just finish my thought. Let me try and remember what I was talking about. Oh, yeah, okay. So, like, the way that you can just design your life in a way that you're not going to be rich, right? I mean, the fact that I'm married to someone who supports me and pays the bills is pretty useful. That's a handy thing, right? But I also just take on enough work, and I also don't want much. As long as my bills are paid and, the basics are met, I'm very lucky in that regard, right? That I can just sort of turn the funnel on and off, as I need to, and sell things and sort of go hard. I haven't really had to sell anything for the last year because people sort of just trickle in, which is good. And that's how I like it. But what was I going to say? But what you can do is just make sure that I think we're looking at this whole thing fucking backward, which is that people don't have the right to destroy others, for a start. Second of all, employers don't have, Paul's starting a new job, right? I can't say who because, obviously obvious reasons. But we're going to have the talk at some point about what happens if they get the call about him, right? And me. And he's just like, well, they can't fire me for fucking what my wife does, right? Like, that's why we have this backward, right? Which is that what you need to do is that employers America has at-will employment, right? So that's why this thing is so effective there. But in Australia, not so much, right? it's been eroded, but for the most part, you can't just fire someone for what their wife says on the internet, right? That's not how things work. We need to start thinking a bit deeper about this. And people who destroy other people are not good people. Why are we giving them ammunition? Right? And this is where I think that's why a big part of, like, when people say, should I delete this thing? Right. Yes, I know people might have actually thought that I was going to give some business advice. I always start out going to do that, which is about like how to deal with like negative comments and shit and how to do feedback loops and all that stuff. I could do all that stuff. I've got worksheets. They're called fucking worksheets. You can Google it, right? In fact, I'll set up a course. You can work through it, right? But the reason why I feel that you shouldn't back down from it is because, first of all, if you delete it, it doesn't disappear. Right? So people it's going to look suspicious if you delete it anyway, right? Second of all, who the fuck do they think they are that they can fucking do that? Like, do you know what annoys me is that Twitter forces you to delete tweets that they don't like? It's like they can quarantine it and make it, but who are they to like do that? That really bothers me, that one. Making you delete your tweet. It's one thing where you can just consent to it being hidden from view, right? But the fact that they're asking you to delete that it ever even happened, right? Especially in this is where there's legal implications as well, right? With defamation. When I first got stalked, the first time I got stalked, and I went to the police. This was in 2011. I went to the police, and the police said, "Do you have printed off screenshots of the threats?" Right? And I said, yes. And then they were like, oh, well, they've deleted them, so can't do anything. There's no evidence now. That could have been doctored, right? Especially now because you can just doctor tweets. So I think that it's really, I know with a court order you can access metadata and yada, 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 yada. But I'm just saying, like, we need to elevate the conversation, right? We need to stop capitulating to the stupid fucks and the evil fucks and start going, no, this is not how we run things. Okay, this is not how you participate in society, right? And that's where it's like I refuse to delete things, and I'm sure it will come to bite me in the ass at some point, right? But I'm happy to have an honest and candid conversation with the APS when it comes up about the fact that I go, no, that was a moment in time that led me here, and I worked through it publicly. I made mistakes. I was wrong. I said some dumb shit, but I admit that I said some dumb shit, and I'm better for it, right? And my journey serves, like, all of my blog archives, right? I don't have search on my website, but I've got archives going back 25 years, right? I have cleaned a lot of it up, mostly because it was just full of shit. Like rambling, like the old blog. I was thinking about that. The word blog, isn't that interesting for our generation? A word just comes out of nowhere and then disappears. Now I'm an old person if I say blog. It's just amazing that a word can just appear and then disappear and become outdated in such a short period of time. Like Flickr, MySpace. I'm just kidding. So, but if you go back, there's a record there of my thoughts in a moment in time. I've got an essay, actually. I should share it. And it's an old essay from, like, I think it was second year political science essay that I put on my blog, Elite Theory in Australia. And it's so fucking undergraduate, right? It's embarrassing. But I like that stuff. I like putting the embarrassing stuff there. It gives you a sense of who I am. And anyway, I think we need to be able to, the reason why I think very big picture about these things, which is when I fucking shuffle off this mortal coil, do you know what? Do you know what's left? Other than the fact I got no fucking friends and no one likes me and everyone hates me. I'm joking. My own mum doesn't even like me. No, I don't give a fuck. What was that? Anyway, no, is that, when your Facebook account's memorialized, people will see that shit, and it's your story. Does it have to be public? No, but is it your legacy? Yeah, right? One thing about Paul is that he never uses social media and he never gets any memories. His only Facebook memories are things that I've written about him. And he's like, oh, that's a good feature because we get to remember things. It's like, yeah, it's kind of like a diary, right? And I know there's people that keep diaries and that sort of thing, but I think that we need to allow people to have a non-sanitized life and record. We need to be allowed to be perfect. Honestly, there's been times when I've been, wheeled into surgery and I'm like, fuck, what if that had been my last tweet? And my last tweet was like sharing something stupid. But that's just, whatever. And it's the same thing with these conversations. We're having conversations where we say things, we fuck up, we're wrong, and then we go, oh yeah, that was dumb yesterday, wasn't it? That was a bit fucking stupid. Sorry, I was wrong. I admit that I was wrong. Oh, well, if you didn't come back to see, then you're not a loyal audience member and you don't get to see my correction. So, I'll leave for you, right? I don't know. It's just, anyway. Have I rambled? I'm going to go. This was only half an hour. Sharing something stupid better be my last post. Yes. Well, most of the things are me sharing something stupid or dumb. But, the only time, I'm not saying I never delete things, right? The only time I delete things is when I feel like I've punched down and I regret it, and it's mostly just in the heat of the moment, and it's an instant regret thing. I often delete things quickly because I don't have impulse control. I'm not good enough to sort of delete it before I publish it, but very quickly after, it doesn't feel good. So I often will hit delete. But generally speaking, if it's something that I have said, like that is a statement or a joke or something I've shared. If it's something I've shared that turns out to be false, I will usually just say this is false, not delete it, right? I generally don't fact check things I generally don't share things without knowing what they are anyway. But yeah, I just thought it was an interesting thing to think about, where a lot of people are feeling pressure to sort of delete their own tweets. I feel that emotion too. Like with my old videos when I was sort of just new to YouTube and really bad. I'm still really bad and I still say some pretty fucking horrible shit, right? And I'm sure it will come back to haunt me. But I was working through stuff and I was trying to figure things out and I was learning a skill. And I think that it's really important, as I said, like with this fourth wall stuff and the creative process, is to see that, the good stuff comes out of pushing through and making mistakes. It's not, nobody comes out with fucking good work straight up. Nobody, right? I would consider myself a pretty good writer and I can usually do a pretty good first draft blog, but it lacks structure. It needs editing, all those sorts of things, right? Nobody does great work like first time. And also a lot of people don't realize that the creative process, and when I say creative, I mean that broadly, not just doing creative output, but just, the creative process, anything where you're building something, is that it's incredibly alone. You can feel alone in it, right? Knowing that even the people that you admire go through this process, or even the people that, you whatever, the people that you trust or people that you, whose work you look up to, right? You think it comes easy to them, right? And I'm not saying this doesn't come easy to me at all. It's easier than it used to be, but I'm not, I'm not a performer in any way, right? But it's comforting for people to see what goes into things and that it's okay to suck. Right? And sucking is part of it, right? Sucking is a big part of the process. Even when I've watched musicians with several albums under their belt and they're back to zero. They've got to start over. They have no idea what they're doing, right? I'm watching someone do that right now, and it's just, it's all part of that process. And so if I can provide that for somebody and go, okay, no, I want to see publicly that I said that I was wrong. Here's why I was wrong. Please leave it up. And that shows that you're reasonable and trustworthy. And I think that in something like LGB or gender critical, I think it's more important to show that you're willing to back down and more important that you're willing to admit when you were wrong or admit that you were willing to see things in a different light, because in comparison to the screaming fuck faces, you actually look reasonable and trustworthy, and people are more inclined to listen to you. So the optics of not deleting stuff like that is very important when you're dealing with politics and trying to persuade people, because a big part of persuasion is building that interpersonal trust over time to the point where you just trust everything that someone says to you. I would like to think that at some point people trust me, because if I say something and I fuck up, then you know that I'll correct it. And if I if I find out that I'm wrong, then I'll say so, and I'll say why. And I think that that's where we need to be. So, but I think again, when there's employment involved and that sort of thing, I get it, but you shouldn't be tweeting that shit in the first place if you. But in terms of deleting it, it's okay to make a mistake. Like I've written, you go through my fucking blog, I've written some stupid shit. I've written dumb shit, right? Really dumb shit. But I've lived so much through this stuff, right? I went through divorce, a very poisonous divorce, right? When Facebook was new. Went well, right? But do you remember, like, I'm really interested in, remember all that initial stuff with Facebook and how, like, it's complicated, where you'd go from the drama move from single to it's complicated to married to it's complicated to married to it's complicated, and those people. I think that rewired us. There's a whole bunch of these things that they've imprinted us in a permanent way with dopamine and that sort of stuff, where we're thriving on that hit, right? And I think that it has actually drastically structured our attachment and relationship health. I really feel that way. Anyway, don't worry so much about Facebook shit or online friends. Don't worry about it. So, I don't know if this was coherent, but I'm going to go. It's a short 40 minutes is a short one for me. Just a quick 40 minutes. But I've got to go and finish doing some work. I'm trying to get all my shit done by Friday so I can knock off. So, yeah. I love you. Thank you for your precious 5 seconds. Oh, join my Discord if you're on Discord. There's a link in the description. We're starting to build a little thing there. Patrons get a special channel and all that sort of shit. And if you want to join Patreon, go to the link. And if you want to give a one-off donation, you can. I don't fucking know. And sugar daddies want to buy me a camera, you can. And also, I've upgraded my top tier on Patreon, which is basically if you want to have a say in whether I swear or you want to shut me up, you got to pay me $50,000 a month now, not 15, because they upped the cap, I think. So it now costs $50,000 to be a dickhead on my channel. So I'm just going to point people to that channel, to that fucking tier, or give them a mug, depending on what track they're on. Whether if they're a hobo, they get a mug and they can buy a mug. If they're rich, then they can shut me up with money. All right. I'm going to go. Hello, Earl. I love you. I'm going to probably stream tomorrow. Okay. Probably on something a bit more around the wokeism stuff and something a little bit more structured. This was just a sort of rumination. Don't delete old shit. Stand by it. Stand by it, and if you need words to say, if it comes back to haunt you, then call me, okay? All right. I love you. Bye.